To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.
Hello my dear grade 9 students. Today we are going to discuss a fresh new lesson in your grade 9 science syllabus. This lesson is somewhat similar to the biodiversity lesson that we studied in the earlier lesson. Somewhat similar means actually here we are discussing about the green concept. Okay. So what I'm going to say is, now why did I told that this one is somewhat similar to the biodiversity lesson? Because this lesson also reflects about the environment and the artificial or the human settlements and artificial environment which created by man, and how we can do, or what are the steps that we can follow in order to manage these environments so that it would not harm the environment. Okay, environment, our biosphere or our earth. You know that in the earlier chapter we studied that because of human settlements and industrial environments, and also because of agricultural environments created by humans, these environments serve or different kinds of problems. So because of these problems, today, right, when you take the earth, our earth or our biosphere is facing some kinds of threats, like the emission of greenhouse gases, and because of that greenhouse gases, the ozone layer is going to deplete. So within this lesson, okay, so like that way there are several other conditions as well, like emission of carbon dioxide, then because of the global warming, right, because of the global warming, you know that icebergs are going to dissolve, then the sea water level is going to increase, then by that way small islands will get submerged. Then the other case is that due to global warming, we will get different kinds of non-communicable diseases, right? Then when using agricultural lands, or when we are managing agricultural lands, you know that we add different kinds of chemical fertilizer. So in that case, these chemical fertilizer will also harm the biodiversity, and also these things will cause different kinds of diseases to us, and even for the animals as well, right? So not only that, these chemicals then going to come in contact with soil and also with groundwater, and soil and groundwater is also getting polluted. So like that way there are different kinds of disadvantages, right, when we are you know, like when we are like doing these kinds of day-to-day activities within our man-made environments. Okay, each and every man-made environment cause different kinds of problems to the environment, natural environment. So within this lesson, we'll be discussing about how to mitigate or how to reduce these kinds of hazardous conditions, and by that way how we can protect, I mean like how we can collaterally live with the natural environment. Okay, so within this lesson, my dear children, we'll be mainly discussing about how we are going to, right, how we are going to manage our artificial environment according to the green concept. Okay, green concept means here we are going to go, or here we are going to manage our resources and our lands. Here we are going to manage our resources, right? Here we are going to manage our resources that are established in different kinds of man-made environments, so that it would fit into natural environment. We won't be able to fit that thing 100% to the natural environment, but up to a certain extent we can reduce the bad outcomes. So here within this lesson we'll be discussing about the way of reducing that bad outcomes in our artificial environments. Okay, right then. So now let's head on to see what are the main topics that we are going to discuss, right? What are the main topics that we are going to discuss within the lesson artificial environment and the green concept. So my dear children, let's see what are the main topics that we are going to discuss within this lesson, artificial environment and the green concept. So first of all, we'll be identifying what kind of a thing is this artificial environment and green concept is. Okay. First of all, we'll be identifying what kind of a thing is this green concept. Okay. Like what are the things that we need to follow when we are following the green concept thing. Okay. You know that the artificial environments are the environments which are made by man, like human settlements, agricultural lands, and also industrial lands. Okay. We discussed those things in the earlier lesson, my dear children. That's why I told you that this is somewhat similar to that lesson. Okay. So, we'll be discussing what is this green concept is. Okay. So, after that we'll be discussing about the organic farming, right? About the organic farming. Organic farming means here we are going to manage our agricultural lands according to the green concept. Okay. So, we'll be discussing about organic farming and other land management systems which we can follow in order to follow the green concept model. Then my dear children, in the final lesson part we'll be discussing about the industrial process. So here we are discussing about all three human settlements, my dear children, about agricultural lands, about industrial lands, and also in human settlements as well. How we can create these things, or how we can follow the green concept model, right, within these each and every lands created by human. Okay, right then. So these are the main things that we are going to learn within the lesson artificial environment and the green concept. So like in the previous lessons, my dear children, after the end of the lesson, we'll be discussing several questions related to the lesson part. Then we'll be starting first of all the questions related to your textbook. Then after that, we'll be discussing several extra questions regarding the green concept and the artificial environment. So stay with me till the end of the lesson and we'll go through with the lesson thoroughly, right? Okay, then let's go and identify what kind of a thing is this artificial environment. So pay your attention to figures given which indicates built environments you have learned in the chapter biodiversity. So I think you could remember within the chapter biodiversity, we studied about the artificial environments. Artificial environments means, my dear children, these are the environments which are created by human. Okay, so we studied these things under three main categories as agricultural environments. Here within the agricultural environments, people do farming. Okay, farming can be categorized into two main categories as plants and animals. So farming of plants and animals, both the things can be considered as agricultural environments, right? So different kinds of crops like paddy, wheat, then different kinds of cereals are being planted, and also vegetables and fruits too, right? So these are examples for agricultural environments. Sometimes we farm different kinds of animals in order to meet our protein requirement, right? Like to get flesh and eggs. Okay, so for examples, we can take hens and cocks, then goats, pigs, and so on. Okay, so these are the agricultural environments, the first and foremost environment, artificial environment. Then, my dear children, industrial environment. So when you take the industrial environment, it's here we are mainly producing some kind of a good, okay, some kind of a product, right? It can be any kind of a product, can be clothing, food item, packaged food item, right? So like that way, there can be different products which are getting produced within an industrial environment. Okay, so this is the second environment, which is the industrial environment. Okay, then finally the urban environment. Urban environment means, my dear children, these are the places where humans are going to live on, like towns and cities. Okay, so these are the three main environments that we can identify within the artificial environments. So we'll be discussing about these three separately then. So my dear children, let's see what are the other contents then. So my dear children, now let's see what is the next content given. From the date of the origin of the earth, everything in it has been created naturally. You know that when you take our environment, our earth, everything in our earth created naturally, right? After the Big Bang, right? Everything in our earth created naturally. Even the life on our earth was created naturally. Okay. Then what has happened here? Thereafter, an artificial environment or built environment was taken place on the natural environment because of the man who changed the natural environment according to his requirements. Now what has happened? When the time is going to pass by, my dear children, right? When the humans are evolved into modern humans, from apes to modern humans, what has happened here is humans changed the natural environment according to their will so that they can live their life with ease. Okay, so because of that, what has happened? The natural environment converted into an artificial environment, a built environment. Okay, right. So therefore, agricultural, industrial and urban environments are artificial environments made by man. Right. So we can say that thereafter, my dear children, agricultural environments, industrial environments and urban environments or human settlements, these things are the ones which were created by man to ease their lifestyle. So these environments are the ones which are considered as artificial environments because these things are created by human. Right then. So you are given with an assignment. See, figure indicates how the area around Manhattan metropolis of New York in United States of America appeared in the past and is seen at the present. List favorable and unfavorable features between these two environments. Right. So when you observe the town Manhattan then and today, you can see different, right? You can see a clear difference between these two environments, right? In the past, there was plenty of vegetation. Even we can observe the figure in green color over here. When you come into today, right, the green color actually disappeared. Everything in the environment converted into buildings and man-made things. Different structures, right? Like we can observe several concrete buildings and man-made environments, right? So what's the difference? The main difference between here and there? The main difference is, my dear children, is the vegetation. As you can see, the vegetation has been completely removed from then to now. Okay. So you are being asked to write down favorable and unfavorable features between these two environments. Favorable and unfavorable features. So let's first of all observe the unfavorable features. Unfavorable features are very simple, my dear children. Loss of vegetation. Loss of vegetation. Okay. That is unfavorable. Why is that? Because due to loss of vegetation, what will happen? More amount of carbon dioxide will be produced. And because of that, the main issue that is going to come across is increasing global temperature, which is referred as the global warming. Okay. Then, my dear children, what will happen? Due to increase of global warming, what will happen? Right? The ozone layer depletion. Then causing of different diseases, right? Non-communicable diseases. Then, my dear children, other issues like sanitary issues, health issues, and there can be several other issues which can be caused to humans and as well as to the animals as well, right? So First of all, we'll list down the unfavorable conditions then. Okay, so I'll take the slide somewhat up. Now the other important thing is that these assignments are for you guys. So you first of all have to get some idea, and you just need to think about the image given here and write down by your own what are the favorable and the unfavorable conditions that we can observe here. Okay, so I'll be writing down only 3. Okay, please make sure to write down other contents, other favorable and unfavorable conditions that we can observe in here. Okay, so these assignments are for you guys, my dear children. So it is special to it is very special that you guys need to follow these things, and first of all you guys need to complete out these assignments, my dear children. Okay, I'll be providing a simple guide only, right? So I'll be writing down 2 differences here, favorable and unfavorable. Then the rest is up to you. Okay, right. So I'll take the slide somewhat up. We'll list down 2 differences. So favorable in here, unfavorable, right? So favorable and unfavorable. So you have to take, here the question is given, you have to take list favorable and unfavorable features between these 2 environments. So you have to list out the favorable and unfavorable conditions or features in both of these environments, my dear children. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write down the first and foremost one, which is the today or else present time, right? So this is present, not from the past one. Okay, so we'll write down what are the favorable conditions and unfavorable conditions. So first of all, I told you that I'm going to write down favorable conditions. Okay, favorable conditions. So what are the favorable conditions in here, right? First of all, okay, we'll write unfavorable conditions. So what are the unfavorable conditions? So like I said, loss of vegetation, right? That is an unfavorable condition, right? Loss of vegetation. Then, my dear children, we can write another one, right? Another one. Release of chemicals. Release of chemicals, right? Release of chemicals. Then, my dear children, we can write, we'll write another one. Right. So we'll write another one. Release of chemicals, then release of greenhouse gases. Right, release of greenhouse gases. So these are unfavorable features. Loss of vegetation is a terrible unfavorable feature, my dear children, within the present environment. Then release of chemicals. You know that there are plenty of lands over here which are made by humans. So they're going to use different kinds of chemicals over there. So different kinds of chemicals are going to release towards the environment, right, that can cause severe damages to the biodiversity. Then next one, release of greenhouse gases. You know that vehicles are going to operate, some kinds of machines are going to operate within these environments. So in that case, my dear children, different kinds of greenhouse gases will going to emit. Okay, so that is also going to create serve kinds of environmental problems. Okay, so these are the unfavorable conditions or features that we can observe within the environment. Okay, within this environment. Okay, the present environment. Now let's go for the favorable ones. Favorable ones. What are the favorable factors that we can observe here? Number one, products or goods are created with ease. Okay, because there are several industrial lands. Because of these industrial lands, these things, these kinds of products and the goods are created without any trouble or with ease. So we can write the first one, products, goods created with ease. Right, products, goods created with ease. So products and goods created with ease. Okay, then what is the second, or any other, are there any other favorable features? Now when you take the transportation process, right, when you take the transportation, you know that in the ancient times people did not have any kind of vehicles, right? So that means transportation is somewhat difficult. But nowadays, I mean in the present, there are plenty of vehicles that can ease the transportation. Okay, so transportation is going to be easy. Okay, so by that way, my dear children, you know that if there is a good transportation process, you know that we can travel here and there without any trouble. So that means we can enhance the we can enhance the working area. Okay, enhancing the working area will also provide different kinds of users for you guys, like for protection, then for food items, then for our entertainment purposes, right? So like that way, there can be different kinds of users because of the transportation. Okay, so if the transportation is getting easy, then without any trouble or with ease, we can achieve these goals. All right, so we'll write down second one, transportation, or else easy transportation. Easier transport methods, right? Easier transport methods. We can identify easier transport methods over here. Okay, then my dear children, by producing goods and products, okay, by producing more goods and products with ease without any trouble, then by providing easier transportation for the man, we have you know, like take our lifestyle, we have created some kind of a, like, you know, like easier lifestyle. Okay, some kind of an easier lifestyle. Our lifestyle is somewhat, now in the earlier times our lifestyle was very difficult, right? Very difficult means, my dear children, we have to, I mean like ancient people had to visit here and there by their foot. Then they had to hunt. Okay, or else they had to do agricultural things. And now when doing agricultural lands, there were several other complications as well, like getting water, right? Then from wild animals also there can be different kinds of troubles. So like that way, there were several issues with the earlier time. However, my dear children, when you come into present, because of using different kinds of machines and different kinds of chemicals, our lifestyle has got much easier than the earlier times. Okay, our lifestyle has got somewhat easier than the earlier times. So that's the main and the first and foremost favorable condition that we can observe within an urban settlement or else in a present day-to-day town. Okay, so we can write that answer then over here. Easier lifestyles, right? Easier lifestyles. We know that we are somewhat busier than the earlier times, but however, our lifestyle has got somewhat comfortable, okay, rather than the earlier times. Okay, we have a comfortable lifestyle, right? So I'll write as comfortable. So comfortable thing is somewhat accurate for this thing. Right, comfortable lifestyle. So these are the favorable conditions that we can identify in the present environment. Products and goods created with ease, then easier transport methods, then we can identify the first and foremost or the main favorable condition is that the comfortable lifestyle. Human has a comfortable lifestyle within the present environment. But however, there are some unfavorable conditions as well, like loss of vegetation, then release of chemicals and release of greenhouse gases to the environment. Then my dear children, this is only for the present environment. What you have to do is, so I told you that I'm going to give out only a guide. So you think and write down what are the favorable and unfavorable conditions that we can identify in the earlier, that means like then or in the past environment. Okay, so there were plenty of vegetation, but however lifestyle is somewhat difficult for humans in the earlier time because of lack of transportation methods, because of lack of products and goods. Okay, so earlier in the earlier times our lifestyle was somewhat difficult, but however there were favorable conditions as well, like what? Less environmental pollution. Okay, less or no, actually no environment pollution was not there. Then favorable conditions, favorable living conditions, right? Favorable living conditions was there. Favorable living conditions means, my dear children, I'm not talking about the external threats, I'm just talking about the living conditions. That means environmental conditions like the better atmosphere, better concentration of oxygen, right? So our ventilation was perfect over there. So that helped to our respiration. Majorly it helps to our respiration. Okay. So my dear children, like that way there are several benefits in the earlier times, and as well as there are drawbacks or disadvantages as well. So what you have to do is write down these things by thinking. Just by thinking you can write it down. 3 is enough. Then identify what are the favorable and unfavorable conditions that we can identify in the past environment. So by that way, my dear children, we can compare these. So you know that there are several favorable and unfavorable conditions in the earlier times and as well as now. However, when you come from earlier times to now, we can identify that our lifestyle has got somewhat comfortable and our lifestyle has got somewhat easier than the previous. Okay, but however, because of making our lifestyle somewhat comfortable and easier, there were several or different kinds of drawbacks or disadvantages as well. So these are those disadvantages, right? So here we'll be focusing mainly how to reduce these disadvantages. Okay, now let's head on to see what are the other contents then. Instead of earth covered with green color in the past, what is left today is an artificial environment crammed with settlements. factories and cultivated lands. So we discussed this thing, right? Earlier, right? Even for the unfavorable and favorable conditions, we discussed that thing, right? And for an unfavorable condition, we wrote down that loss of vegetation is a main reason, right? Or main unfavorable reason. So by cutting down all the trees and all the other vegetations, we have created different kinds of industries and different kinds of buildings. And to meet our food requirement, we have created agricultural lands as well. However, all of these things are not natural, my dear children. They were man-made. Okay. So here now we are left with what? We are left with artificial environment with settlements, factories and cultivated lands. Then here it is given, because of this, at present the humans all over the world are facing unsolved problems. Along with advancement of science and technology of the human, who is considered the dominant living being on the earth, his or her lifespan too has increased. Now the other thing is, my dear children, when you compare the lifespan of the earlier people and the lifespan of the people who are living now, there is a certain bit of a difference between the lifespans. Today, because of the production of different kinds of chemicals, different kinds of medicines and the transportation methods and different kinds of other services and goods, now, my dear children, we are living a good lifespan. But however, in the earlier time, because of lack of science and technology, right, people died like within like, so like before we are going to complete like 50 to 60 years, people died mainly because of lack of technology and medication and also transport mediums and so on. Okay, but however, if a certain person is not going to catch up with like diseases or serve conditions, then normally a certain kind of a person is going to live like 80 years. But however, in the ancient times, it was very difficult, right? It was very difficult. That's mainly because of different reasons which are caused by lack of science, lack of advancement in science and technology. Mainly because of that. Right then. So, my dear children, like we have discussed, okay, because of the advancement of science and technology, nowadays people are living a much comfortable life with a good lifespan. Okay, right. Meanwhile, with the increase in human population and unlimited exploitation of limited resources on earth, all organisms have confronted with many problems. Now the other thing, my dear children, you know that when the lifespan is going to increase in a certain person, then what will happen? When the time is going to pass by, the population of that certain species is going to increase. When the lifespan is going to increase, definitely the population is going to increase from time to time. So with the increasement of population, my dear children, what will happen? People are going to use different kinds of resources too much, and also sometimes the environment pollution which is going to occur because of the products and industrial lands and other artificial environments, right, is going to increase from day to day. So that will definitely create different kinds of serve conditions to the environment and as well as to the society. Okay, right then. So let's head on to see what are the other conditions. So increase in global warming due to human activities has either directly or indirectly become the reason for all environmental problems. So this is the other condition, my dear children, the global warming. So global warming is the main reason for the environmental problems which has been created right now. So mainly because of the increasement of global warming, right, different kinds of diseases are going to spread. Okay, then other than that, loss of vegetation. Okay, loss of vegetation. Because of the loss of vegetation, what has happened, there is now in the now when you go to the present, when you go to the future, definitely there is going to be a lack of food. Okay, there is going to be lack of food for sure. Even for today, nowadays, right, even for nowadays, there is a certain lack of food for all the people who is living around the earth. Okay, so my dear children, like that way there can be different other conditions which is going to cause because of the emission of greenhouse gases. So not only for the environment but also for the society and also for the other animals too, this is going to affect. Okay, so next one given. At present, human attention has been drawn to follow guidelines and policies essential for maintaining goods and services without damaging the natural environment or causing minimal damage to the natural environment of the earth. This has come to the limelight as the green concept. Right. So you know that when we are going to develop from stage by stage, from the previous era to modern era, what has happened is we have destroyed the environment step by step. Okay, now we have identified that there can be different kinds of complications which is going to occur with the development of the lifestyle of the man. That means, my dear children, it's very important to do minimal damage or else no damage at all to the environment when we are establishing different kinds of settlements, agricultural lands and as well as industrial lands. So this is the one which has came, or this concept is the one which is came as the limelight for the green concept. Okay, so in simple, green concept means living in the particular environment or living in the artificial environment by providing or by giving a minimum threat to the environment or no threat at all. Simply we can say that by reducing the environment pollution or by providing or by not doing the environment pollution at all. Okay, living in our artificial environment without doing environment pollution or without or by doing minimal damage to the environment. That's it. So this is the one which is referred as the green concept. Much easier concept, my dear children. Right, here we are going to live green. Green means here in the sense we are going to live in an environment friendly manner. That's it. So this is the one which is referred as the green concept then. So following guidelines and policies essential for maintaining goods and services so that the natural environment on earth is minimally harmed, right? Minimally harmed or not harmed at all. This is called as the green concept. So minimally harmed or not harmed at all, right? Minimally harmed or not harmed at all. I'll underline this thing. So what you have to do is following guidelines and policies essential for maintaining goods and services, right? So we know, you know that we have to produce our goods and we have to follow different kinds of, or we have to do different kinds of services to provide a good and a comfortable lifestyle, right, for the man. To have a comfortable and a good lifestyle for the man, we have to produce different kinds of goods and we have to do different kinds of services. So green concept is, in the bottom line, very simple, my dear children. Following guidelines and policies, right, which are essential, right, which are essential for maintaining goods and services so that the natural environment on earth is minimally harmed or not harmed at all, right? This is the one which is referred as the green concept. To get a better understanding about the green concept, let us find out information on several places in the world which adopt the green concept. Now, to identify certain things related to the green concept, my dear children, we are going to identify several examples where the green concept is being followed in our planet Earth. Okay, there are different complexes, shopping malls, then housing schemes, then buildings, which the green concept is being followed. So we'll be identifying several examples that can be identified within our world, which follows the green concept model. Remember, here green means it is not talking about planting trees or any other vegetation, but green concept means, in the bottom line, is that we are going to minimize the environment pollution, and by minimizing the environment pollution, we are going to maintain the artificial environments. Okay, right then. So the first and foremost example given is the German Parliamentary building, right? The first and foremost example, right, for the building or the construction that has followed the green concept model, the German Parliamentary building. Let's see what are the concept here. Energy for this building is obtained from solar energy, geothermal energy, and biofuel powerhouses. Now, all of these things are renewable energy sources. Right? All of these sources are renewable energy sources. That means, my dear children, fossil fuel is not going to burn over there to produce energy. With the burning of fossil fuel, you know that different kinds of gases like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, like that way, there can be different gases which is going to emit towards the environment. That means, my dear children, those gases are going to do several kinds of adverse effects to the environment. Okay. So, by using these renewable energy sources, like what? Like geothermal energy, solar energy, right? And biofuel powerhouses, you know that we can minimize the emission of hazardous gases to the environment. Okay. That means, my dear children, definitely we are going to reduce the global warming and the emission of greenhouse gases. Okay. So, this is a good and a wonderful approach to have the green concept idea. Then next one, in addition, it has special ventilating devices and contrivances to retain warmth, right? So here, to retain the warmth, you know that Germany is a country that has some kind of a cold environment. Okay, the temperature is somewhat low over there. So in order to have good warmth, right, they have created different ventilating devices and also contrivances, right, to retain the warmth over there. Next one, 80% of the total electricity requirement is produced within the building itself. Now this is much important. 80% of the, right, 80% of the total electricity requirement. 80% of the total electricity requirement is created within the premises itself, my dear children. Right? So that means like only 20% is obtained from outside. All the electricity needed, most of the electricity which is needed for the building is created within the building itself. So this is an added advantage, because if we are going to receive energy from any other different place, right, that means, my dear children, we have to burn fuel. Sometimes we have to use nuclear power plants. In nuclear power plants also, there can be different kinds of chemicals which are going to flow out. So these chemicals will create different environmental problems if we receive electricity from outside, my dear children. Okay, if we can minimize the electricity usage from outside, that means those factors are also going to minimize. Okay, so in here 80% of that means majority of the electricity is being received within the building itself. So that means, my dear children, this is a good approach to the green concept. Next one, Because of such devices, it has reduced the annual emission of carbon dioxide from 7,000 tons to 1,000 tons. So my dear children, see, because of planting or because of implementing these cases or these conditions, this building has reduced the annual emission of carbon dioxide gas from 7,000 tons to 1,000 tons. From 7,000 to 1,000, that means 6,000 has been reduced. See, so here usually this building is going to release like 7,000 tons per year, right? 7,000 tons per year. Annual release of carbon dioxide is 7,000 tons, right? 7,000 tons means, my dear children, in kilograms, you need to add another 3 more zeros back. That means around 7 million, right? 7 million kilograms of 7,000 tons means 7 million kilograms of carbon dioxide gas. See how much huge is it, right? 7 million kilograms only from this particular building, okay, or else 7,000 tons. 7,000 tons only from this particular building. So that value has been reduced up to 1,000 tons right now because of implementing these cases within the premises, right? So imagine if such building can emit like 7,000 tons, how much can emit within the how much of tons are going to emit within our rest of the buildings, right? So imagine this is just only a one building, no? So like that way there are like different kinds of buildings even more larger than this. So those things are going to emit like, you know, like millions of tons per year. Okay. So it's not good for the environment. Release of this much of carbon dioxide is actually not good for the environment. So release of this much of carbon dioxide gas is the main reason for the increasement of this weather. Right? Weather means actually the climate, the change of or the shifting of the climate, right? So that's the main reason, mainly because of the increasement of carbon dioxide emission, the global warming also has got increased. Right then, so this is the first and foremost example which follows the green concept model, my dear children. This is the German Parliamentary building. So within the German Parliamentary building, all the energy sources are renewable. Right, most of the times they use what? They use solar power, geothermal energy, and also biofuel plants or biofuel powerhouses to generate energy in here. Okay, so 80% of the electricity requirement is produced within the building itself. So this is a good example that follows the green concept. Right then, so let's see the next one then. Next one given here, the Beijing National Sports Complex in China. The second complex or the second building that follows the concept of green. Okay, so Beijing National Sports Complex in China. So this was created in 2008, my dear children, to facilitate the Olympics. Okay, and this complex is also called as the Beijing Bird's Nest Sports Complex because it is like a nest of a bird, like this, right? Different kinds of metals and other structures used to create this structure, this stadium, my dear children. This was created in 2008 in order to facilitate the, right, in order to facilitate the Olympics in 2000, which was held in 2008, okay, in China, Beijing. So this is also referred as the bird's nest, right, because of the shape and the pattern which it has built on. Okay, right then. So let's see what are the special methods that follow in here. It has employed methods to obtain electricity from solar energy and water requirements from rainwater. Ventilation is affected naturally. Therefore, maintenance of a sports complex is carried out by low cost. Now the next one is the cost reduction. When you can reduce the cost of maintaining such premises, right? That means, my dear children, low cost means you are going to also reduce the resources which we are going to use for that premises. Okay, if a human being can reduce the money, the amount of money which he or she is going to spend on a certain thing, that means for that particular thing, less amount of resources are being used. If less resources are being used, definitely, my dear children, what will happen? The environment pollution is going to reduce. Okay, so maintaining these things at a minimal cost will also reduce the environmental problems. Okay, that's the method which is followed in the, here, my dear children, which is the Beijing sports complex. Okay, so here it is given employed methods to obtain electricity from solar energy. So solar energy is the main energy source which is being used over here to power up the sports complex. Then the water requirement is being received from the rainwater. Okay, water requirement is being received from the rainwater. So see, it's a good example, right? It's a good example to retain the resources that they have. Then, my dear children, ventilation is affected naturally. Then the other thing is that ventilation is affected naturally. Okay, that means natural ventilation is used over here, not artificial, like AC, air conditioners are not here. Okay, ventilation is given naturally. So by that way, the sports complex is maintained with a low cost, right? So this is the second example, the Beijing National Sports Complex in China. Then the next one, my dear children, number 3, Elmos Court Complex in USA, United States of America. Let's see. Irrigation required for the plants is minimized by growing plants which can withstand drought conditions. Now in here, my dear children, in the court complex of USA, the Elmos, here the plants which have been grown around here can withstand drought conditions, harsh environmental conditions. So that means, my dear children, irrigation required for the plant is minimized. Okay, use of water has been cut down by 40% by installation of waterless urinals, toilets and showers which use water minimally. So 40% of the usage has been cut down because of using what? Because of using waterless urinals, toilets and showers which use water minimally. Here minimum amount of water is being used, so therefore 40% of the water requirement has been cut down. Okay, even though it's been cut down, right, 40% is been cut down, my dear children, this complex is working very well without any trouble. That means that 40% is actually, right, earlier, right, that 40% is actually a waste, right? That's going to be a waste, right? If you are going to provide that 40% to the building, it's a waste, no, right? That means without this 40%, people who are working over here can do their work without any trouble. So that's why they have cut it down. So minimal water usage is can be observed within this court complex, my dear children. Okay, so like I said, if you are using less amount of resources, then the environment pollution is also going to be less, right? So this is the second example. Next one, number 3, K2 housing project in Australia. This housing complex utilizes renewable energy only. Use of recycled timber, rainwater, solar water heaters and photovoltaic panels can be seen in this. So, my dear children, let's see what are the special things in here. As per to the given passage, you can see the building complex utilizes renewable energy only. They are using only renewable energy to power up the entire housing complex, right? So, use of recycled timber, rainwater, solar water heaters and photovoltaic panels can be seen in this. So, my dear children, we have minimized the usage of timber by using recycled ones, okay? And also, the entire housing scheme, right, or the entire housing project is being managed by using renewable energy sources. So, using renewable energy sources means, my dear children, here with the minimum cost we can manage this thing, okay? We can manage the housing complex with the minimum cost. Then the other thing is that by such measures, it has been able to reduce the electrical supply by 55%. See, as they are using these renewable energy sources, the electricity requirement has got reduced by 55%. Water supply by 53%. Water supply, as they are using rainwater, right? Rainwater, because the housing complex is using rainwater. Now the water requirement has got reduced by how much? 53%. And petroleum gas supply by 46%. So, normally for the developed countries, my dear children, gas is given as a service, like as electricity to our houses. Okay, so gas is given as a service from the government or else from other private companies. They are given as a line. Line means like our current line, water line. Okay, like that way the gas line is also given, but they will charge a certain bill within a month or within for an year. Okay, it's not like us, somewhat different. So, my dear children, the other thing is that the requirement for the petroleum gas also been reduced by how much? By 46% over there. Okay, by 46%. Right. So, this is the K2 housing project in Australia, which use different kinds of renewable energy sources and rainwater within the housing complex. Right. Then the next one, the Bud Clark Commons Housing Complex in USA. The Bud Clark Commons Housing Complex in USA. This is the fifth one. So, you can see the building over here. Let's see what are the special things used in this housing complex then. This housing complex uses solar water heaters to get hot water, a roof with a plant cover absorbing heat and rainwater, devices to purify bathroom effluents to be used in toilets, and fiberglass windows opening under hot conditions. Right. So, the housing complex is mainly using solar water heaters to get hot water. Okay, to get hot water, they are using solar water heaters mainly. A roof with a plant cover can be observed. Now, at the top of the roof, there is a plant cover. So, this plant cover can absorb heat energy, my dear children, right? And also rainwater. Then, devices to purify bathroom effluents to be used in toilets, and fiberglass windows opening under hot conditions. So, they are using devices to purify bathroom effluents, and also these things are used in toilets and fiberglass windows openings under hot conditions, right? So, these are the special things which are being followed over here. So, by that way, let's see what are the benefits that they are going to receive. So, this project saves energy worth of $60,000 annually. So, because of following these methods, my dear children, annually, this particular building is going to save like $60,000. $60,000. Annually, these things are going, annually this building is going to save like $60,000 for the US government. Okay, so that's a very good beneficial thing, right? So, these are the examples where we can observe, right? These are the examples where we can observe the green concept in artificial environments. So all of these things are artificial, man-made. However, they are following different methods and guidelines so that there is no or minimal amount of environmental problems, right? Okay then, now let's see what are the other things given. So you should not misunderstand that the aim of green concept is only enhancing the plant cover to appear in green. So my dear children, when we are discussing about green concept, you should never, okay, you should never confuse this thing with the vegetation. Here we are not talking about vegetation, okay, at least actually vegetation is important in green concept, but my dear children, we are not talking totally about the vegetation process on here, okay. So don't get confused green concept with the vegetation, okay. So it may be quite clear to you from the above examples, minimizing the emission of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide that cause increase in global warming is also a major aim of the green concept. So here within the green concept, my dear children, we are going to minimize the emission of harmful gases, especially greenhouse gases. We are going to minimize the emission of greenhouse gases. Because of the emission of greenhouse gases, different kinds of complications are going to occur, my dear children. We discuss those things when we are starting the lesson part. So here the green concept mainly aims to reduce the greenhouse gases which is going to emit within different sources, okay. So that's the main aim of that is the main aim of green concept. So here specially remember, we are not talking about the vegetation, but we are going to minimize the emission of greenhouse gas as the main aim over here, right. So examples for greenhouse gases are given here. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Then methane, right, methane is a greenhouse gas. Then nitrous oxide, oxides of nitrogen, right, those things are considered as greenhouse gases. So what is the main reason for reduction of these greenhouse gases? Because my dear children, that cause increase in global warming, right. So these gases can increase the global warming process, right. So my dear children, that's the main thing, that's the main aim of stopping or reducing the emission of these greenhouse gases. By the reduction of emission of greenhouse gases, we can reduce the global warming up to a certain level, okay. So green concept is following that particular idea as the main aim, reduction of greenhouse gases. Why do we need to reduce it? In order to reduce the global warming, right. So next point given, therefore all processors supporting it belong to the green concept, right. So therefore all processors supporting it belong to the green concept. So all the things that we follow in order to minimize the global warming and in order to minimize the emission of greenhouse gases, those methods and those policies are going to provide a support for the green concept. So in green concept, my dear children, the main aim is to minimize the global warming and minimize the emission of greenhouse gases. So let us examine how the present agricultural and industrial processes can be geared for this. Now it's time to study about the things that we can follow, right? Things that we can follow, methods and policies that we can follow in maintaining a proper green concept, okay. However, my dear children, we'll be studying those things in our next chapter, not from now. So I think you got a good idea about the green concept thing. So here you can observe another logo, right. So this logo is going to represent the concept green. So if you can identify this thing, that means, my dear children, that particular building or that particular premises is going to follow the green concept model. That means they have used different kinds of policies and methods in order to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases and other toxic substances to the environment, and they have minimized the environment pollution. So this is the symbol or the logo for the green concept, right? Right then, so we have studied about the green concept and we have identified what does the green concept is, my dear children. Remember, here we are not talking about the vegetation, but we are talking about how to minimize the environment pollution because of the emission of greenhouse gases, and how to minimize the global warming by reduction of the emission of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide. Okay, now let's observe, my dear children, okay, how we can follow different kinds of methods and policies in order to follow up with the green concept. Okay, here mainly we are discussing about the things that we can follow, the steps that we can follow in agricultural lands and industrial lands and even in human settlements that will accomplish or that will follow up the green concept. Okay, so in the next chapter we'll be discussing these things, my dear children. So stay with me till the next chapter and we'll observe what are the things that we can do or what are the steps that we can follow in order to gear the green concept model in each and every these artificial environments.
To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.